if anything stuck out. May, Daniels, McCarthy, Daniels, May, and good morning.
You know, the one guy that he equivocated on, KOC equivocated on a lot,
Daniels.
and deferred was, well, I thought it was Drake May because he talked about Josh McCown the whole time.
I'm glad you said that, because Nordo and I unpacked it a little bit earlier in the week, like Wednesday and Thursday, not all in one segment like this, but the conversation was diverted from Drake May to Josh McCown.
Yeah.
And he kept talking about Josh and Josh and Josh and
right.
Josh. But he did share some about Drake, but I noticed that too.
How valuable do you think it is, knowing that their paths crossed in high school, right? When Drake May was a high schooler, not when Drake May was in college. Am I correct about that?
High school, yeah.
Yeah.
Charlotte High School.
Right. So I guess part of my question is, you can know something about what Drake May is now as a 21 or 2-year-old.
He's 21, and that's interesting, the age part of it. But continue.
So how much can you glean working with a high schooler that then translates to? I believe he's a 4-year player at UNC because of the COVID year and everything else. So how much of that translates? A kid is a high schooler. Is he still that same guy? Is he, how different is he now? His body's filled out, matured, but it's still uniquely valuable data point that you actually have a coach on staff who every day saw one of the players that you may covet in this draft. And
ended up coaching with the Carolina Panthers. Okay, so he's with the Panthers last year. Now, he's a previous teammate of Sam Darnold's.
Yeah.
So, therefore, it's just interesting. I'm at the Combine, and then, you're hearing things and following things, and McCown gets hired. Just out of nowhere as the quarterback's coach. And Chris O'Hara becomes, senior offensive assistant, passing game coordinator, something like that. I'm like, okay. Well, then you learn about his relationship with Drake May. And then of the freebies, of the free agent quarterbacks, the one they sign is the one McCown knows the best, and somebody with whom he worked in Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I'm not guaranteeing a metaphorical box checked here and the McCown double hits and it goes bam, bam with Darnold and May. But I'm also not eliminating it. I think that relationship here matters.
Probably not this case, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. What if, at the end of last season, Josh McCown was hired in, early February?
Yeah, at the Combine.
So,
late February.
What if they were already lasered in on Drake May? What if they were like, we're going to do whatever it takes to get Drake May? Let's go get McCown. What if it went that way instead of the other way? What if they're so sure that they want Drake May and they're going to do whatever it takes that they went and got McCown to put his high school coach with him instead of the other way around?
Nordo.
Hey.
I'm starting to like him again.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
It's becoming a good Friday and a great Friday again.
Turning around.
I'm just saying it's possible. We feel like Kwesi's been looking at this quarterback-laden draft for a long time, that they've been targeting this. They let Kirk walk because they hope that it's going to work out, that they're going to get a quarterback they love out of this draft.
Right.
This is the most important decision that Kwesi will make as a Vikings general manager. Period. I don't care what happens even in the future. If he flubs this draft badly, this might be the end. If he gets this right, he could have a decade-long run as a general manager tied to a franchise quarterback. This is a huge moment for him. Maybe he went so far as to put a coach on this staff that will work for his quarterback of the future.
The Easter Bunny Con!
So, of those 3 clips that I played, of Drake, of Jaden, and JJ, you mentioned how forthright, and it was interesting. Spielman would have never given us this information.
No, he wouldn't
is how you framed it up.
Yeah.
But if you listen back to them in totality, he gave you deep dive on J.J. McCarthy. He gave you deep dive on Jaden Daniels. He gave you a high school quip about Drake May, and then basically spent the entire time talking about Josh McCown's inclusion.
Right.
So if you are reading through the tea leaves here at the bottom of the cup, Drake May's the guy. He could speak for an hour on J.J. McCarthy. He could speak for another hour on Jaden McDaniels. When it came to Drake May, he was kind of mum. it was cool. It's almost like he was more excited to chat about pickup basketball in the old days in high school with Josh McCown. He adores him. Drake May is the guy. How they get there, that's part of the other side of the conversation, but they love Drake May.
And J.J. McCarthy, some pertinent factoids from that. Did you jot anything down or anything hit you with the McCarthy bit?
I thought a lot of what he said is kind of consensus right now on J.J. McCarthy. We know he's a very good athlete. We know that he can run. He can throw on the run pretty well, though Greg Cosell did not like him that way, but I think others generally feel like he can throw on the run. You love that he won a national championship, that he performed well. I think there's a lot of people that have dinged J.J. McCarthy because great offensive line. You've got a very balanced offense that didn't ask him to go, throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. Yep. But you know what? There's really something to be said about being a highly productive player when you are asked to make your plays. And that's what he did. There's going to be, it really feels like a 3-person draft has turned into a 4-person draft. Thor Nystrom saw it coming a month and a half ago. And it sounds like the rest of the world has caught up to the idea that J.J. McCarthy could end up going before Drake May goes in this draft class.
See, I thought there were 2 nuggets that were dropped during that are not of the national speculation variety. At least I haven't heard it or seen it a lot. It's the work he does on third down. And Kevin was quick to point that out. Is his volume, paraphrasing the coach, he's like, his volume may not be there, but the work he does or did on third down in certain situations, well, that resonates.
And on 3rd and 6, he was like 70-some%.
Jeez.
3rd and 6 or longer. So yeah,
great.
it's that number is astronomical as part of this steamrolling conversation.
Secondly, of all the quarterbacks in the draft, you can read between the lines and tell that Kevin was very appreciative. JJ had executed a pro-style offense led by Jim Harbaugh from under center. So he was quick to point that out. Now, the Vikings go under center, but they go shotgun more. But I do believe it's pertinent. And then you get to the ages of these guys, and Kevin didn't talk about this. Like Michael Penix is going to be 24 middle of the season.
Yeah.
Bo Nix feels like he's going to get a second contract when he's 30 years old. May is 22. He'll be, or 21. He'll be 22 somewhere middle of the season, maybe August, something like that. McCarthy just turned 21. 2 months ago. So, when I learned that yesterday, man, as we're putting these things together, I'm just thinking, holy cow, the work he did against high-end competition at ages 19 and 20. That's pretty darn impressive.
It is impressive. For quarterback in particular, and I wouldn't say this about other positions, I'm less worried about the age because if you find a really good one, they're good till their mid-30s. You're getting a decade out of your franchise quarterback, which is about all you can ask for. Even if you took one of the older guys who's turning 24 this year, he could be good for a decade, and you could have him until 34, and you're basically Kirk Cousins' age. So, at that position in particular, the age doesn't worry me as much as it would at running back.
Right.
Where if the guy's 24, he's already basically dead at 24. So, yeah, it doesn't worry me as much.
But when they're coming in the league at 23 and 24, why? Okay, well, with Michael, it was constant injuries.
Yeah.
4 of them, significant, setting him back. So now he'll get in and get an opportunity. With Jaden Daniels, we're at Arizona State for 3 years. And then or 4 years. Then we get to LSU, whatever it was. But he's off a year from where you think he would enter.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's a deal breaker, certainly, but it is pertinent when you cast your gaze the way of I think you mentioned it earlier, something about molding or what. This metaphorical clay is pliable, and but the younger you are, and you take the gifts and the age and the understand. Just it's fascinating the way he described a lot of this. And
Bo Nix at Auburn for seasons before he goes to Oregon.
There you go.
So you're talking about 3 different guys who are all older and have more reps, which is cool when you think about the highlights in college.
Mm-hmm.
But is it cool when you're thinking about guys that are entering at 24, 25 versus the ability to mold? And Drake, a little bit older, but still just 21. I think he turns 22 in training camp time at some point. But I mean, there's an allure to that, I think.
Drake May is the best pocket passer of any quarterback in the NFL draft. That's not my opinion. That's opinions of those who are in the league who have told me that. And none of them are with the Vikings. Secondly, May is the most Cousins-esque quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind.
Yep.
Gabe Henderson with the Vikings Entertainment Network joins us from TCOPC. Yeah, you know we next.
Ooh, yeah. Whoa, 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 hey. Whoa, whoa, baby, 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 baby. We had a good time at the spot. I was two-stepping while you dropped it like it's hot.
Well, this
DJ did his
this makes the Gabe Henderson inclusion 9 to noon on the Friday Football Feast a little different and a little more difficult for some things that I had written down for the early stages. That, like I said earlier, here he is in the 651 Carpets Plus studios at FM 100.3 KFAN. Actually, I thought he was going to be, as we would say in the business, down the line at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. But now when I look at one of my very best friends, as we go eyebrow to eyebrows, chin to chins, it's just a little more difficult to pin you down and be like, well, you were on stage last year. I mean, you were there, Charch.
I was there
when we were relegated to the Delta Club.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Well, and now I think we're going to be on the we'll be on the big stage this year doing the draft party show. Tickets at Vikings.com, and we'll be on the west side of the building, no diggity in that end zone, like a couple years ago.
So I want to know what you did.
It's not me.
What you did to get us relegated to the Delta Club last time and off the main field.
There were two things that transpired, and one was they learned the attendance of women 18 to 34 dramatically down last year. So they're like, Lieber needs to be on the big stage, west end zone.
I always love that one.
Secondly,
and I'll be in the east, by the way.
Let's not
as far as possible.
Let's not forget the man in the studio, a Gabriel Henderson. Not only had told yours truly, not only had said on the radio for 2.5, maybe 3 weeks, very low key fashion.
Yeah.
And it was with no steam. It wasn't like, shh, Wasey told me this. Shh, somebody, no, nobody told him anything. He doped out Jordan Addison was the right pick for the Minnesota Vikings. And here's why. And none of us listened to him on draft night.
I was so sure they were going defense.
Everyone was.
They took Jordan Addison, and he was sitting behind us. And like, it was my turn to talk. And I
he turned around, yep.
I'm like, are you kidding me with that? I have a lot of reverence for people who are able to do what you just did. And I hear a producer go, talk! I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, Jordan Addison, newest Minnesota Viking. Charge your thoughts. So anyway, here you are. And the draft, first round of the draft, second round a month from today, first round a month from yesterday. And I'm just kind of like wondering what you're thinking right now. I mean,
oh, man.
Got any tips or touts? Or
you want me to tell you
talkers?
now?
Oh,
no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
But have you settled in to what your prediction is going to be, or
I
you know what I mean?
I feel a little bit more confident in what I think the Vikings can do with 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
One, you definitely have to draft a quarterback early. But if that guy goes early before you need him to, then there are a couple of guys in the back end that I still think fit this offense.
Well, see, I guess what I/we are looking for at Gabe A. Henderson via the X Machine, Vikings.com, and Vikings Entertainment Network is I just loved how you did it last year because I know it was not born of steam. It was not born of information. It was not born of somebody walking into a studio like this, 10 years ago, having not mentioned Anthony Barr on the radio show one time for 2.5 months and going on the Power Trip Morning Show. And it was my turn to pick for the Vikings. And I'm like, I think Anthony Barr makes sense here. And people are like, you haven't, nobody's ever, what? And I'm like, so that, if the Eagle lands and you have the ability to share, more so me than you because I'm not a team employee. Well, I know how that works. And I also know that you don't work that way.
Yeah.
That you put it together on your own, like you did last year.
Yeah.
And man, that was impressive. So, where are you now? A little, just a hot tick shy of round one.
Yeah, I just remember last year with Jordan Addison, with Adam Thielen not being a part of the Vikings organization anymore, and how often Kevin O'Connell liked to throw the ball. We needed a shifty, a down threat receiver type of guy that could fit into this offense. And when you looked at Jordan Addison, who wasn't projected too high simply because of all the offensive linemen and some of the other guys, tight ends that went early, I just thought Jordan Addison made sense. I was like, well, the Vikings, they might have to move up to get that guy if they really want him, because in my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the draft. Well, the Vikings played their hand pretty carefully, and the guy ended up falling to them. And I was like, PA, I hate to say I told you so, but this was the best fit. And right now,
you didn't have to. It was right there in front of all of us, and another 3,000.
Even more surprising to me was, if you recall, the draft picks preceding the Vikings. Wide receiver, wide receiver, and we went wide receiver.
Yep.
That was, that to me made it even more improbable that Jordan Addison would end up being a Viking.
I think he just, from his skill set, from watching film, out of all those receivers, him and Zay Flowers, in my opinion, were the only two that fit this Vikings offense in the first round. So I was just trying to see how they valued a wide receiver. Do they want a tall guy? And when you have a guy in Justin Jefferson, pretty much he's your goal line. He's your jump ball.
Yeah.
He's the guy that can win the 50-50 balls or the 50-50 throws. So Jordan Addison kind of fit every other position, a guy that you can move around inside and outside. And that's why I pretty much landed on him. And being a former college wide receiver and just saying some of the things that Jordan Addison has put on film when he was in college, I was like, if we can get this guy, we will be dynamic on offense.
All right, well, let me hit with this scenario, Gabe. Let's assume the Vikings, for the moment, let's just assume they can't move into the very top of this draft and get a quarterback. Now, here comes 11. The four big quarterbacks are off the board. Here's 11 and 23.
Yeah.
Are you taking a quarterback at either of those spots and I think this is probability.
Yeah.
Those four guys are gone, and the Vikings hold 11 and 23. Are you taking a quarterback in either spot?
I would probably take a quarterback at 11 because I believe the top four guys will be off the board by the top 8 or top 7. So if that's the case, have you done your research enough, which I believe the Vikings have done? Have you done enough research on the Bo Nixes of the world or the Michael Penixes of the world?
Yeah.
And if that's the case and you like those guys, I think they go at 11. If not, then you can get like a Spencer Rattler or one of those. I can't think of the guy from Memphis, their quarterback at 23. Or you can move back to see if you can get one of those quarterbacks later in the first round or early in the second. I just don't think the Vikings should exhaust all of their resources to move up to the top 3 picks if that's what they want to do. But still, you have to go quarterback in the first round if you're them.
Now, that would be, in the minds of many, a big reach at quarterback. If you're going to put Bo Nix or Michael Penix at 11, even at 23, those are guys that are not getting mocked to that kind of spot. This team's history of reaching on quarterbacks has historically not been good.
Yeah.
And most teams that take a reach in the mid rounds for a quarterback because they're desperate, they need it, you end up with quarterbacks who, by and large, typically do not work out because you're making a move out of desperation at a position of need rather than taking a guy who fits that spot.
Yeah, and if that's the case, the Vikings will probably move up to get the guy that they want. I just think the biggest question, at least from what I've seen on social media, is are you moving up to get the 4th best quarterback in the draft? Because if that's the case, then how do you see that big picture? Like, what is the trajectory of that guy actually being a starting quarterback for this Minnesota Vikings team? Is he going to sit a year? Is he going to sit 2 years? Because you do have 3 quarterbacks under contract right now for this Minnesota Vikings team. So what does that look like? We'll see.
Apples and oranges because of the positions.
Yeah.
But, if that same phrase had been uttered into 2020, that, you're why move up and do this? Why take this here? You'd be getting the 5th best wide receiver. He's JJ. You see what I'm saying?
I hear you loud and clear.
It's into it. It was unprecedentedly deep. Mm-hmm. I've said this 5 times now. Old schooler. I'm going to pump the brakes a second. I'm going to let them play some games for a little while and see how deep it is. Mm-hmm. Well, they were right. So I acquiesced with the tight ends last year. I mean, you were there, man. All that tight end stuff we heard.
Crazy.
I mean, undrafted Baylor guy Ben Sims is here doing great things in the preseason. Can't keep them all. Mm-hmm. I mean, it took Green Bay 1 minute to pick him up, find him, and make him active when Musgrave went down, and he helped. So up and down tight ends all over the place who are going to help teams for many years. We just heard too much of it at the Combine, man, about the depth of this quarterback draft. Yeah. And I'm not saying that there are going to be more than a handful of quarterbacks taken on Saturday. I'm talking rounds 4 on. There are going to be somewhere in a handful, 1, 2, 3, whatever, quarterbacks drafted on Saturday who get second contracts as starters. And I mean, it's beautiful prediction to make because nobody can call me on it for 4 or 5 years.
Right. Easy
but
one.
It's not none of this is necessarily my prediction because I just don't follow it closely enough or watch it. Mm-hmm. It's what I deem to be the right people telling me.
Yeah.
And I'm not like you're familiar with let's say 5321 Old Dowd Road in Charlotte? No?
Oh, no. Is that Drake May? Is that
1407 East 3rd Street in Charlotte? I mean,
which high school is that?
Well, you're North Carolina.
Yeah, Raleigh guy.
Bred and raised, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a chance that you and Drake May have eaten at the same Bojangles. I always love that one. So
there's probably a 100% chance that's the case.
I mean, Drake May joins 9 to noon, new Minnesota Vikings quarterback. Drake, 300 West Boulevard in Charlotte. Oh, yeah, Bojangles. I always love that one. All right, Gabe, you get the rest of the questions.
PA, I've been on and off the record basically saying I love Drake May. I've loved him since he's been in college at Carolina. And I say that non-biasedly. I just believe what his skill set brings to the table, I believe that'll translate to a lot of offenses in the NFL. So we'll see how the Vikings view that. But you just look at his upside and just some of the systems he was put in at the University of North Carolina last year. I think he is, in my opinion, a top 2 or top 3 quarterback in this year's draft. And if he falls to the Vikings, man.
Well, he's not falling to 11.
Yeah, no.
Right, exactly.
Well, there's McCarthy.
No.
I mean, if the Vikings got a quarterback at 11 and kept 23, booyah with
one of those
that.
4.
That'd be unbelievable.
If it's one of those 4, that would be unbelievable.
Yes.
But I think Gabe hit it. 7 is the line of demarcation because Tennessee's going to war with Will Levis. Mm-hmm. He looked bad last year. And he is not the long-term solution there. I can't see a scenario where one of those big 4 gets to 7 and Tennessee doesn't take that guy. So I think your move up has to be to at least to 7.
I mean, if that's the case, that means they've selected a quarterback in the top 3 rounds the past 3 seasons. I mean, Malik Willis in 2022.
But that's just a 3rd rounder.
But Will Levis, early 30s last season.
Yeah.
I would have to disagree. I think there's zero chance that as close to 0 as you can get with the Titan. I mean, to move on that quickly, get a left tackle, they need skill position help, all that. I don't know.
Look, they need help a lot of places. But I'm telling you, they don't have a quarterback and they know it.
But what we all agree on, though, is that the Vikes can't sit at 11 and take one of the 4 top guys. That's just not going to happen. So where you got to get to for that?
It's Arizona is going to be the circle the wagon spot.
That's the spot
for a lot of teams. Mm-hmm. And behind it, the Chargers are not drafting a quarterback.
Right.
And they're most likely taking wide receiver. They're most likely taking whichever Harrison Jr. or Neighbors clip are available. Mm-hmm. And nobody's trading for Justin Herbert because of that contract. So there's that spot. Giants, wild card of all wild cards ever to wild card. I mean,
does that seem like there's a possibility there?
Well, the Daniel Jones contract is awful. And he's not very good. And I mean, if it's one of the deepest quarterback drafts in the history of the NFL, and somebody's, you can get there. I don't know what their assets are outside of 6. I think they would ponder. I think it's a long shot, but I mean, I've been laying on this, man. The Cardinals have 6 of the top 90 picks. They have 4 and 27. it's not an absolute impossibility that you can get their 27th, along with you give them 11, 23 and next year's first round pick. So we'll start there. I mean, but it's not right. But you get their 27th pick and the 4. So now all of a sudden we're starting to follow these crumbs a little bit, and they're starting to make a little more sense.
Wait, you're saying Arizona would give up the 4th pick of this draft and the 27th pick overall
for 11, 23,
in next year's first
and more. Yeah.
It would have to be and more.
Yeah, so,
the and more would have to be non-trivial here.
Right, but we also have to think of with whom we're dealing and where they are offensively and or defensively compared to where some other teams are. Jonathan Gannon calls the defensive plays. He's a defense-first guy. I'm thinking he would want to be at 11 because if the second LSU wide receiver is available, okay, I can consider him. Or... well, like I started talking about yesterday pretty deeply, is quarterback, wide receiver, I mean, there are going to be so many good defensitive players available from 9 on that JG may be looking at it like, I mean, we're going to get 11 and 23. We don't prefer to give up 27, but we got this one next year plus all this ancillary other stuff. And we can get the Verse Cat at 11. And we can get Byron Murphy Jr. at whomever at 11.
You can get Shedeur Sanders next year with the first.
Well, think about that.
Yeah.
Because they would have multiple firsts next year.
Well, and isn't there a Minnesota kid? We haven't talked much about O-line, but I think he's like a North Oaks kid. It's Joe Alt.
Oh, his dad played in the NFL.
And he went to Totino Grace.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I believe he's the...
I didn't know that.
I believe he's the patriarch. He's the left tackle of the draft.
Yeah.
That would be kind of that Tennessee spot for me.
Maybe.
Where
sense.
So you start stacking those. Yeah. You're absolutely right. 10 or 11 is where Dallas, have your freaking pick of the litter.
Well, John Alt is his father, right?
Correct.
Okay, I didn't know the kid was from North Oaks. All right, where'd he go? Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, John Alt is that's in the conversation with Orlando Pace, Walter Jones, all the highest of high end cats. You know,
I mean, you look at left tackles of the future. I put Joe Alt in the Christian Darrisaw conversation. Like he's
Christian one in the 20s.
But just thinking of impact, of trying to, when you build an offensive line, you start with the left tackle. Like this is the guy that can protect the quarterback's blind side. I believe Joe Alt can be that guy for the next 5 to 10 years. So if that's what the Tennessee Titans are going to do, then I guess that changes the conversation of, are they going to go quarterback? Because maybe they're saying, well, Will Levis, to see if he has more time or if he has a younger guy on his backside, he can be a better quarterback. Because we're going to run the ball anyway, even though we don't have Derrick Henry, we're going to still try to run the ball effectively to set up the pass.
The team that is desperate, that would love to get Joe Alt, if he can just drop a couple of picks. Chicago. You go Caleb Williams and Joe Alt with pick 9, and it could work out that way. It really could. Man, would that... Chicago, that second pick for Chicago is going to be fascinating because you can either help Caleb Williams by protecting his blind side for the next decade, or you can drop like Roma Dunza on him, and now you've got an amazing wide receiver for him to throw to. And how Chicago intends to help Caleb Williams with that 9th pick, it'll almost certainly be offense, will be fascinating to watch.
Let's do this as a quartet, and I will say the team. And let's all of us say you can say side of the ball if you want, offense or defense.
Okay.
Or you can go position if you want. We don't need names. All right. So like when I go, at what I'm looking for is through the first 11 picks, top 10 picks, what we think is best for the team to do. Eliminate all the steam, eliminate all of the subterfuge. And the best thing for objectively for that team to do offensively or defensively. So like, if I go number 1, Chicago Bears, then we're all going to go quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback or offense. Okay. Washington Commanders.
Quarterback.
ProFootballTalk.com today. I had a nice little piece from the LSU Pro Day. Brian Kelly, coach of your Tigers, came out and said, the Washington Commanders are taking Jaden Daniels. Unless he's just throwing everybody else a curveball, but he's there to elevate his guy and say good things about his guy. So he's like, paraphrasing, Yeah, we know he's skinny. Yeah, we know he needs to put on weight. Yes, he's tall and rangy, and
needs to get down.
You know what I'm saying? And there are things that need to be worked on because he is a rookie quarterback. But somebody's going to get a gem, and he's going to go very high. He's going to help somebody immensely, something like that. And then he just said 2 words after that, for Washington.
I always love that one.
Came right out and said it. All right, so so I'm putting him there. Okay,
I'm putting JJ McCarthy there.
Okay, yeah, and I could see that too. Number 3, New England
Quarterback.
Quarterback.
Yeah. Number 4, Arizona
Wide receiver.
I'll give you that.
Gotta be wide out.
Yep, wide receiver.
I say wide out.
Yep.
Yeah, Hollywood Brown's gone. I mean, there are no wideouts
stuck.
on that team.
Number 5, well, their offensive line is also bottom 5 in the NFL.
Correct.
This could have
Arizona?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This could have some alt terrorism to it, too. Just keep that in mind.
So could this next team, I think.
Unless
Rashawn Slater, is he healthy? I forget where they're at with the O-line.
Number 5, the LA Chargers.
Wide receiver. They've traded Keenan Allen and they released Mike Williams.
Yep.
But it's
Quentin Johnston did nothing as a rookie.
But I chatted about this with KOC earlier in the week about it's over the last handful of years, let's say 5 years. The quality of wide receiver you're getting deep in the draft, it's becoming exponential. It's not necessarily like Dontavian Wicks is going to tear it up for Seattle or tear it up with Lamar, or tear it up with Sam Howell in Washington. But these coaches are so good at identifying the X, Y, and Z, and he plays them all, but I love him at Y, and nobody's looking at it like that. So they take somebody, put him into an individual spot they know will work within their system, and the guy takes off. Like Dontavian Wicks was a great pick.
That's all you need. That's like when you have 2 really good wide receivers that can take the top off of a defense, all you need is for that third guy to fit to know his role. And from there you can.
But you guys are right.
Yeah.
It's going to be it'll be one of those high enders.
For sure.
And that's why the contracts are coming back, man. This wide receiver thing, get it while you can, gentlemen.
Right.
Would Jim Harbaugh rather have J.J. McCarthy or Justin Herbert as his quarterback?
10 of 10 McCarthy. And it's not because he necessarily, with a straight face, can say, McCarthy, game 1, 2024, gives me a better chance to win. Game 1, 2024. He is so cocksure in what he does and has a competitive arrogance to him that he doesn't care what management. Just think a classier, more couth version of Sean Payton. just think that. I mean, Jim's like that, and he has a right to be.
I can think of serial killers that are classier than Sean Payton.
But it's not that he necessarily, with a straight face, can think that the quarterback right now is better. But then you got that contract. That contract's freaking ridiculous.
So you're saying if J.J. McCarthy is available at 5, you can see the Chargers taking him?
Ain't doing it. No, they won't do it.
Okay.
Well, unless they already had a trade in place for Herbert. The dead money associated with that, PA and I looked at it a little deeper about a week ago or so.
And we might still be at $119 million or more than that, right?
That contract is absolute hell from my standpoint. And so you do all this work to get younger and more flexible. Why didn't you just re-sign Kirk if the idea of connecting yourself cap-wise was open, if you were open to that?
I wasn't saying Vikings for Justin Herbert.
I know.
Just talking.
Yeah, but the contract,
the contract makes it very hard.
Number 6, New York Giants.
Quarterback.
Quarterback?
I will go offensive line.
Like it.
I would go all line.
Yeah, I like that outside of the box quarterback.
Well, they can cut Daniel Jones after this next season, and it's only $22 million in dead cap.
Oh wow!
And if they even wanted to play like the post June 1st bit, they could split that 22 over the next 2 seasons, 25 and 26. So that's where, again, the 4 and the 5 spot for me is the A topic for getting one of these quarterbacks, because if one of those is available at 6, I think the Giants. Daboll left Josh Allen, and he's trying to figure things out now post Saquon Barkley with Daniel Jones. His job, GM guy's job, they need a QB in New York to fix this Daniel Jones L. I think they would take a guy at 6 if one of those 4 are available.
I'm listening to that. That's what I would do. But teams almost never do this.
They need offensive line badly, like almost everybody does.
Yeah.
They
Who are
do.
their receivers?
Why?
They got the guy from
Pacheco.
Tennessee,
got
Malik Hooker. Malik Hooker's their receiver. He was from Tennessee. He won the Biletnikoff in 2022.
Was that Jalen Hyatt,
We're
maybe?
talking about the Giants,
Who am I
right?
thinking
They
of?
got
The
I
Giants.
think you're thinking of
Hooker was
Jalen
a
Hyatt.
quarterback.
Jalen Hyatt, you're right.
Yeah, and they got Darius Slayton, and they got this Wendell
Pacheco.
Robinson guy flashed a little bit.
Oh, Hodgins. Remember Hodgins?
Hodgins.
Lighting it up against the
Unfortunately.
Vikings?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I'm thinking Pacheco. It's Hodgins.
But then Darren Waller just retired, didn't he? They brought him to New York. I think Darren Waller retired.
No, he didn't retire.
Darren Waller.
No, he's there. He got traded from Vegas, right?
Yes.
And
He's there.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, it wasn't a great
I don't
year
think
for
he
him.
retired.
All right.
Yeah, his future's uncertain right now. That's that's as of 3 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Still undecided on retirement, so he hasn't done it
Okay.
yet.
Let's fly through the rest. 7 Titans.
O-line.
Quarterback.
8 Atlanta.
Defense.
Ooh, defense.
Their defense is actually pretty solid.
I think they still have a hole at cornerback. You have AJ Terrell, but Jeff Okuda, is that really the guy that you're putting on the back end? I think they go cornerback.
I think they go edge.
9
Ooh,
Bears.
that's fair.
O-line.
O-line.
10 football Jets.
O-line.
O-line.
Yeah, I think O-line's the right call there.
I think they
With
go
A-Rod
Brock
back in the
Bowers
mix.
here and go tight end.
Oh, ooh-wee.
With all due respect to Conklin.
Right.
Is Uzoma still there? CJ
No.
Uzoma? Oh,
No,
wow.
he.
That's a good point.
Where did Uzoma go? And he completely flamed out. Yes. No, he was there. That's
He went
right.
from Cincinnati to
Right.
the
Cincinnati
Jets.
to the Jets. He didn't do anything in either
He's
spot.
a free
so
agent. I don't
it's
think he's
over.
getting any sniffs.
Yeah.
Stick around for another segment.
I'm here.
Gabe Henderson, Vikings Entertainment Network, Vikings.com. Feasting on a Friday with the Friday Football Feast. Nordo.
Hey.
We have another example.
Oh, my gosh.
I just learned between segments. Hey, Charch, you learn so much about Gabe Henderson and his family, as the years go on. So, like, we're doing a radio show at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center last year, and just out of nowhere, Gabe says, "Yeah, my mom used to babysit Chris Paul."
I always love that
I
one.
remember that from
interesting.
What?
Just Chris. And then what was the Dexter Lawrence couldn't fit in the car during driver's training?
Yeah, he put a hole in the airbag on the passenger side because the car was too small.
And who was his driver's? Was it your uncle?
He
Or?
was my mentor.
Yeah, your mentor.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have a new one. Just out of nowhere, he says, we're talking about the Wolves.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, yeah, I know TJ Warren."
I always love that one.
Who the hell, A, knows TJ Warren?
Right.
And B, how do you know TJ Warren?
So we grew up in the same area. His best friend, his college roommate is my childhood best friend. And he went, of course, TJ went to NC State, watched him plenty of times, hooped with him plenty of times. He's not the most outgoing person. A lot of people say, socially, it takes a little bit for him to warm up, but if you really get to know him, he's a really solid guy. So I've known him for a while. We call him the Raleigh legend. I know people in America or the basketball world call him the bubble legend for what he did in the NBA bubble.
Was that Phoenix or Indiana?
That was Indiana.
Yeah.
He dropped 50 points one night, and I think he was averaging close to the upper 20s.
Wow.
Like he was putting in work. But like we've seen that. Like I've seen that my entire life.
Yeah.
So just a really good human being.
What? So your favorite basketball team, you and Jordan Reed with ESPN. I was texting you guys over the weekend, wishing you guys good luck because I know how much you both love Tar Heels basketball. I fell asleep last night after watching that Clemson game and the Gophers hockey game and some of the Wild and stuff. So like when I fell asleep, your Tar Heels, I thought they had that thing in control. What happened?
We're probably up by 12 by the time you fell asleep. It still stings to even talk about it. There was a guy, I'm not even going to name names, but there was a guy who is a backup that was playing a lot more minutes due to his size to kind of, negate some of Alabama's strengths. They had a guy, his last name was Nelson. I believe after last night, they have him as a projected lottery pick now. The guy just went crazy against us. This power forward on our team had the opportunity to get some open shots, and he took the bait.
Oh, wow.
He started shooting threes.
So it was here, kitty, and they wanted him to shoot.
And he started doing it. And then on the other end, he picked up 4 fouls. In the last 10 minutes of the game.
Well, other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play? Like my man comes in, he doesn't even play that much. I don't know who it is, first place.
Yeah.
Now he's chucking up shots and taking fouls.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was a play. We were up by 5 with about a minute and a half left. Oh. He has the ball top of the key open, probably 10 feet of distance between him and the defender. Pulls a 3, misses it. Goes down the other end. Alabama starts a fast break. It's 2-on-1. He decides to jump, takes the bait, fouls, and 1. Alabama down by 1. They have the momentum. They go on to win the game. I went to sleep last night pretty upset.
Now, you're an elite ACC mind. And, I'm playing catch up on Clemson. I started watching NC State when I caught wind they had won 4 in a row, and this O'Connell cat hit this big 3 to tie it against Virginia, and it was dramatic, and it was from a mile. They go to overtime and they win. They beat your squad in the ACC championship game, but the Baby Blue, might have had grander prizes on their minds. That happens in tournaments all the time. Well, now we're getting into the NCAA tournament, and North Carolina State's 2 for 2. I think they're going to beat Marquette straight up tonight, and they're going to move to the Elite 8, and we'll see what happens with Duke. But Clemson, and your guy Hall, what's his name?
PJ Hall.
Yeah, right. I mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah, he's fantastic how he plays.
If there wasn't a guy in the ACC that plays for Carolina named RJ Davis who won ACC Player of the Year, PJ Hall would be the ACC Player of the Year. Just a 6'8", 6'9" center that can push the ball up the court, but also can shoot the 3. Like, he can pretty much do it all. Yeah. But I look at this tournament, I think I told you before, is a lot of these teams with this transfer portal and NIL, a lot of these teams didn't start building their chemistry until mid-February, into March. And now we're starting to see some of these teams build that chemistry, and now we're seeing the NC States, the Clemsons, the Alabamas of the world making some of these runs because they're finally playing to their full potential. With that said, I still don't believe UConn is going to lose. Like, they're the best team in college basketball.
I've now watched UConn play 3 games, 1 in their conference tournament and 2 in the tournament. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's child's play.
How fast they are at everything they do. It's as fast can be.
After watching them play last night, I was like, in Carolina losing, I was like, there's no need for me to watch college basketball until April 8th.
There might be.
That's some national championship.
Yeah.
And UConn is probably going to win by 20 points. They're going to raise the banner again. It's going to be like, who's next year?
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, I think women's college basketball is still a little bit more entertaining this year. Just all the storylines. Like, I started following women's college basketball about 3 years ago, pretty heavily. When Paige Beckers got to college basketball, and I was like, who is this girl? I just moved to Minnesota.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'm going to get behind some sport here, some team. And ever since then, I'm like, man, women's college basketball is picking up steam.
Yeah, and it's I'm sure there are those who are, Caitlin Clark again. Yeah. Caitlin Clark in a commercial. Caitlin Clark. I can't get enough of the girl. I mean, I think she's so cool. She's so even-keeled. She's so unassuming. Yeah. She has a natural look to her countenance where if she just looks in the camera, it's warm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, she's
warm on camera. She's
the killer on the court.
On the court.
Killer on the court. And she plays like Steph. I know I'm not the first to say that, but I mean, she just turns around and throws it up from 30 and it goes in. It's unbelievable.
It's every time you watch her, it's like, oh, yeah. Wow, oh, like, oh.
Well, she's terrific.
For the market that she's playing in, she's really good for that market, and I'm happy to see the entire world kind of get behind who she is as a person and as a basketball player.
Don't you think this is what changes sports? I mean, if you go back, Michael Jordan changed men's basketball. It was already big, and I'm not, but he brought it to a whole new level. Yeah. There are key individuals that will single-handedly propel a sport.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark's one of them. She has what she has done to women's college basketball.
It's different now.
Has never been done before.
Right. And
selling out arenas.
Yep.
I mean, being at the lead story on Sports Center. I mean, just so many things that have changed because of her.
I mean, it's the perfect timing, right? Like women's college basketball started to pick up steam as far as notoriety the past couple of years, and then last year, I believe they had higher ratings, more views than the actual men's college basketball tournament. I believe with Caitlin Clark being the face of that, I believe that helps transcend the game because of the marketability, because of the likability, because of the market that she's in. So I think it's best case scenario for all parties involved. And just having a daughter, like I can only imagine, like what's that going to look like when 18 years down the road when she's playing college basketball or whatever sport she wants to play.
Well, it's different now because of obviously the technological advances that have taken place since, like, say, the mid '80s or early '80s. With a reference, I'm a drop here, so more people are able to see it. People get bit in different ways now than they used to. What I'm getting at is it was big when Lisa Leslie dunked. I mean, that was big in the world of sports, but it didn't blow up or people didn't follow. I mean, she's women's basketball immortality. Rebecca Lobo, some things she did, but it didn't get to this level. When I was in high school in Southern California, Cheryl Miller, Reggie's daughter or little sister,
USC, right?
Yes. Now she was at Riverside Poly High School. All right, she was closer to my age. Reggie was 4 or 5 years older than me. Well, she was on a Riverside Poly team that the LA Times would write about all the time, man. They won 84 games in a row.
Yeah.
Finished like 132-4.
That's crazy.
So she was, I think, on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but it didn't catch fire the way this is.
My favorite Cheryl Miller story. Reggie and her were similar in age, and they were both playing high school basketball at the same time. The Miller parents went to watch Cheryl play the same night that Reggie was playing somewhere else. Reggie comes home from his game. He's like, "Mom, Dad, I scored 50 points. Oh, that's nice. Your sister scored 100.
Oh, wow. Come on.
She had a 100-point game.
Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna rank them or prioritize them, but in the early to mid 80s, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Steve Garvey, Wayne Gretzky came to the LA Kings, Vince Ferragamo, Wendell Tyler, or Charles White at USC, those previous guys for the Rams. And Cheryl Miller was in that conversation.
Crazy.
In every LA Times sports section that you would get during basketball. See, that's how big she was. Hey, let's do something next week, okay?
I'm here.
Happy Easter.
Likewise.
To you, Julia, and baby Ella. Love you and appreciate you.
Appreciate you, PA. Appreciate you, Charch.
Gabe Henderson, Vikings Entertainment Network. Brandon Cristal, beloved BK from KOA in Denver. He was at the NFL owners meetings, and Charch is a fan of his from afar when he joins 9 to noon. So we thought we would put that together and chat some football with beloved BK around the corner on KFAN.